Hi, and welcome to the Sunday Lunch Project Manager podcast for Sunday, the 17th of September 2023. This is your host, Nigel Creaser, and today we've got part one of my interview with Ondrej Papanek, the Agile Coach. Hi, it's Nigel again. If you are listening to this, that means that you are listening to the old style of the podcast. You may like the old style of having it split into two pieces, but I know some of my listeners didn't. So what I've done, I have created the option for you to be able to listen to everything all in one go. You don't have to wait till next week. You could get it now. At the moment, it's just on Spotify. We'll be coming on Patreon as well. Costs you, was it £3 plus the VAT? I think it is. Over a month. And that means you get the whole thing all in one go. So the other advantage, that'll be coming out on a Sunday. This one, you will notice, has just come out Monday. Wouldn't make a big difference, really, but there you go. You've got it. You've got that choice. Helps me invest in better equipment and maybe a few other bonus items going forward. So if you can spare, essentially, a cup of coffee once a month, and you get the benefit of getting it earlier and getting it all together. So pop along to Spotify. Have a look in there where it is, and there'll be a little lock sign against one called number 132/133, John Henney, the voice coach. And that's the combined one, and you should be able to click on there, do what Spotify tells you to do to register and put all your payments in. Yeah, that's it. And the only thing, if you have done that and you do it, I don't know if I get details on it yet. It's very new. So send me ping me a message through whatever medium you can get hold of me, and you'll get a mention on the show. So again, thanks very much, and let you carry on with the show. Cheers now. What's been going on? I am now back off my summer break, yeah, 2 weeks in, busy at work, and been flexing those muscles again. All those ones you let go a little bit, and then it is interesting how when you get back into an office, you need to reset and rethink about what you're doing. Otherwise, you can end up just being overwhelmed by the stuff that's there, and kind of get back into using those tools and techniques to keep yourself organised. And yeah, that's been interesting. Back at playing bass guitar again from a more personal point of view. I've been playing around with BandLab and with my fellow people learning. I'm enjoying it. As I've said before, again, it's kind of trying to put a bit of structure on it. Looking from a well-being point of view, it really gives me a little bit of those hobbies that allow that creativity, allow something different to what our normal day job is, even though using some of the tools we would in a day job of coordinating stuff, thinking about stuff, planning stuff, putting time in diary to be able to do some of this practicing and things like that. Which it also brings me on to, and I may have mentioned it last time, I've got an interview coming up in a few weeks with Anara, who has written a book. I didn't say Anara's second name because I keep butchering it because I'm not very good at it, but I will. Did it okay on the actual podcast. But she's written a book called The Little Project Manager, and it's aimed at helping kids between sort of, I think she said sort of 5 and teenage age to learn the skills of project management, and I think it is another demonstration that these skills are usable in our lives all over the place, and for our kids especially, to help them deal with when they're doing GCSEs, when they're doing high school and all those sort of things, and then to university, and then onto practical stuff. That practical skill of looking at a problem and trying to break that problem down into manageable pieces, into actionable tasks, is just fundamental in life, and we know it, and people learn it, but through osmosis. You don't learn it, you don't get taught it. I think it's a really good to do that, and coupled with that, there's I've mentioned before that Steve Wake, from former chair of APM, is pulling together a a symposium at the moment to look at creating the equivalent of a high school, the GCSE in the UK, qualification in project management, which I'm hoping to get involved with. But he's calling out for volunteers to help with it, for people to be able to influence it, contribute to the actual content creation, people who are also interested in testing, etc., or promoting it. So if that sounds like something that floats your boat, search for Steve on LinkedIn, or look at my LinkedIn and you'll find some links where I've forwarded it on, and I'll put a link in the show notes. I'll find a link of some description. So if you want to get involved with that, that'd be great. What else is there going on? Writing, no writing, not done any. Thinking of November, using NaNoWriMo. Some of you may have heard me mention before, where it's try and write 1,000 words a day, or 1,600, try and get to 50,000 in a month. Contemplating using that to finish off the book, or in grand style to do a different one. The other one runs on the Sunday Lunch Project Manager podcast. As I say, straight away it flows off the tongue, but the original idea of this and the name came from an idea of a book called the Sunday Lunch Project Manager, which kind of looks at project management, looks at it from a perspective of governance and where to and how you apply the right governance. And a little parable. Hopefully it'll be amusing as well. And I really do need to finish it, since I named everything I do after it. And yeah, so I have a go at that. Podcast wise, loads of really good interviews in the bag. There's a couple which I from early on in the year, and unfortunately I had problems with the recording, and I've been trying to vet them, and by not having stuff going on in the summer, I've managed to fix them both. I think I've just got to do one check on one of them, which is great. They're two great interviews, so they'll be out in the next few weeks. A couple of new ones I've done recently, and I've got pretty much, I think it's 4 or 5 new ones to do over the next coming weeks. That's going to when I've done those, I've easily covered through into next year, and they're starting into there. So that's really good at this point of the year, September, having the whole year pretty much done. So content is coming to you guys as quick as I can get it to you, really. So if any of you guys out there are interested in being on the show, please let me know. Pop along to zcal.co, zcal.co/Sunday Lunch PM, and there's a calendar there. Pop it in, we can have a pre-chat and we have a full chat afterwards. Depends how you want to play it. We won't dive straight into it. Just let me know the kind of topics you want to talk about, a little bit about you, and we can set something up, which would be fantastic. In the meantime, I'm going to let you have a listen to Ondrej Papanek. So speak soon. Bye. So I have a number of sponsors, affiliate links in the way that it's set up, that have kindly allowed me to share their services, really. The first one is Mike Clayton, and Mike runs online PM courses, and it is a great resource for getting those fundamentals of project management trained, reasonably priced, and Mike presents it in an accessible and clear manner. You can check out some of his videos on his YouTube channel and kind of give you a view of where they are. But the code for that, if you go to nigelcreaser.com/online PM courses, all one word, lowercase, that'll redirect you to it. There's very different levels that you can buy. You can buy individual courses, you can buy pathways as well, if you like. And I get a kickback off those. Mike kindly shares me of that. So if you do jump on and use it, I hope you find it really useful. I think he has money back guarantees and things like that as well. So there's very limited risk on that. So jump on that, and that again, it's nigelcreaser.com/online PM courses, and enjoy. I am delighted today to welcome Ondrej Papanek to the show. Ondrej is an Agile coach and Scrum Master extraordinaire is revolutionizing businesses and igniting collaboration with his unrivaled expertise in Agile methodologies. With an unwavering dedication to unleash the true potential of companies, Ondrej has left an indelible mark on esteemed Fortune 500 giants, including Apple, H&M Group, Volvo, Scania Group, and Colt Technology. What truly distinguishes Ondrej is his exceptional talent for orchestrating workshops and fostering a culture of teamwork, alignment, and perpetual growth. With this unwavering commitment to cultivating safe and inclusive environments, he empowers teams to engage in transformative dialogues and innovative problem solving. Ondrej, welcome to the show.
Hello, Nick. It's my pleasure to be with you today and have a discussion about Agile and the transformation, which we can see a lot of companies going through when they're implementing Agile and also digitalization last few years.
Yeah,
I will share a bit.
Go on, sorry.
Yeah, I want to share a bit story about me. As you mentioned, working for big international companies, my background is also IT. I used to be the IT guy, called as the IT support engineers, IT administrator responsible for IT infrastructure. I was helping with, a lot of day-to-day tasks in the companies and also users struggling every single day. I wasn't able to have a bigger impact outside of the team, IT department, and management and stakeholders. So lately, I was introduced to Lean and later Scrum when I saw the potential how Scrum can help companies be more productive and also deliver value, the service, which is more meaningful for the customer, right? And I was working as a Scrum Master and later went today I'm Agile Coach, helping company with Agile way of working and also coaching team members.
Brilliant. It's Agile is something that I've been knocking around the project management arena for, what is it now? I'm trying to work out the maths, 28, 6 years, something like that. And obviously in the last, I'd say 10 years, Agile as a methodology, as an approach, has it's funny in project management. It's not a project management method, but it's kind of been co-opted by a lot of people as it being a project management method. It's the that I'm sure that everyone on who's listening to the show is aware, but for those who aren't, it sort of had its form. The Agile and Scrum had its form sort of way back in the 70s with dev teams rather than IT dev teams, and has kind of morphed into this beast around the world. And I suppose, with me, it's kind of, I look where it is now, and it's come a long way, and lots of businesses are, we're Agile, but they want to be Spotify. They want to be one of the big IT companies, the Spotify approach or whatever, all these different things. And it seems to be a lot of businesses go, right, send a load of people on, get them Scrum Master certified and a couple of product owner certified people. And right, then we're doing Agile now. And then everything they throw around it, they don't change the business to be Agile. They just change projects to be Agile, which is the wrong thing. I've Adrian Pine on the call, who I know is ferocious on LinkedIn with people around when they start talking about Agile as a project management methodology versus waterfall. But you've got that approach of agility, but that other rigid reporting and how they crash against each other. And I struggle with that, coming from that traditional approach to project management, and then I want to know when you're going to complete something. But that's the wrong question. I know that's the wrong question. But the organizations that I'm in always want that same answer. And I guess with you, Agile coaching organizations, you get that tension a lot. It's kind of the future. How do you see organisations really changing agile in the future?
Well, I can see the same kind of confusion as you mentioned. They see Agile as project management. And I think it's most of when company try to just plug in the Scrum or Agile way of working. Sometimes we use Agile way of working as buzzwords. But when I end up in the companies and I see what they done, they don't even sometimes follow the Agile manifesto or the Scrum values. I think it's our message of Agile coaches, Scrum Masters, Scrum trainers to spread the message what is Agile, what are the values of the Agile, and also make a better meaning of the Agile in the world, right? As you mentioned, there are a lot of people on LinkedIn and other social platforms where they're recorrecting people. This is not project management, it's Agile is methodology, and Agile has 40 plus frameworks which are used in different environments from software, manufacturing, to marketing, to HR departments. And I think the future of Agile is also kind of, Agile, it's also very adaptable. We can see it as last few years when COVID hit, everyone has to work from the office. Recently, collaboration tools like Zoom, Miro, Mural, and others really increase the users, numbers. And this also changed the way as we work because in the office we have to use these digital platforms. There was so much education on it, like everyone want to contribute, provide value. And I saw that where a lot of people want to collaborate. Yes, we have the Zoom or Teams, but coming back from have the service or product in front of us and have instead the digital form is becoming very challenging. And that's the place where the HR coaches will jump and help the company with this transformation. Sometimes this transformation is forced by digitalization, right? And COVID was one of the biggest movement of this. And recently we can see this also coming back slowly to the office, but teams are collocated across the Europe, across the world. So that means some of us, we are in the office, some of us will be working from home or different offices. And again, we need these digital tools to help us to collaborate together. And this is the place where also the Scrum Master or Agile Coach step in because we wearing a lot of responsibilities, but also hats, right? So we are the trainers, we are the coaches, we are the mentors. Sometimes we are the facilitators. And I see when facilitator is more needed than never before because I have a lot of friends and colleagues who are working and they always complain, we're spending hours and hours in the meetings. There is not output. There is not where we should follow. We don't know. And that's the place where the facilitator, which is kind of one of the heads of Scrum Master and Agile Coach, can step in. Data even show in research where research was done in the United States and they show 4 to 8 hours employees spending meetings which are not necessary, which also reflects the company losing about $25,000 yearly on these meetings, which are kind of almost useless. So it's our message of Agile coaches, make this more efficient and also like Agile, it's flexible, it's adaptable almost every environment.
It's interesting when you talk about the meetings. I've seen that situation where, and maybe it's the environments I've worked in, but sometimes where you have everyone, like the whole concept of right, we've got a team, they're a great team. We've got a scrum master, and they're working across 3 or 4 teams, or agile coach working across 3 or 4 teams. The scrum master doesn't need to be at all of the daily stand-ups, but they do tend to, in my experience. But then everybody wants to do their daily stand-up at 9:15 every morning. So you've got people with 6 different project teams that they're Scrum Master for all meeting together, and they can't ever attend all of them at the same time. Whether they should or not is another question entirely, and that's kind of again, it's a little bit of um, drifting into that agile at scale kind of conversation, isn't it? Where actually, if you've got a team, you've got them all there, they're delivering it, that's great. But when you've got those same people on three or four teams because they're an expert across something, and it probably goes against the concepts of managing it that way. And if they're bringing in, you haven't got a team that just brings in work that comes into them. They're formed to deliver one specific thing, but it's not a full time thing. So they have other things that come into a hopper, but they're separate Scrum teams. How have you worked with those sort of scenarios?
I could say it's quite challenging this environment scaled agile, especially for Scrum Masters. If we have one Scrum Master responsible for more than 2 or 3 Scrum teams or agile teams, sometimes we call. I think the Scrum Master usually spend more time over in new form Scrum teams where the Scrum Master is more needed. After a few weeks or months, this Scrum team is more efficient, so the Scrum Master is not needed every single daily Scrum or stand-up. That's the place where he can spend more time in the new teams. Also, it's good to sometimes show up and not to be there, or even sometimes listen and be in the background and give them feedback, once they finish the daily Scrum. Because the Scrum team can run the daily Scrum or stand up without Scrum Master. Scrum Master is to help them, to guiding them, to sometimes give the good direction, right, towards accomplish the sprint goal, not to have this kind of traditional 3 questions stand up, which was kind of also sometimes like status meeting for many of them. At least that's my experience. And lately, like, we have options where the Scrum Master is also software developer, and that can be options when the team lead can have the background of the IT guy and also be a Scrum Master. That's also an option. It's not that common, but it's also good to have it. I was in a situation when I was a Scrum Master. I was responsible for multiple teams, and one of the team lead wanted to become a Scrum Master. So I gave him some training, education. He got through certification. After a few weeks, actually 2-3 months, he was able to really step in and takes over. So I was very satisfied how he performed when it comes to daily Scrum and later retrospective and other Scrum events. A lot of other challenges, but there are ways how we can solve this. Of course, I can see big enterprise companies, they hire Scrum Master for multiple Scrum teams, and this is very challenging. I believe a Scrum Master can handle 2, maximum 3 Scrum teams. It also depends how many members of Scrum teams we have
It
there.
makes sense because at the end of the day, uh, and I've tried to do I tried to use some of the Scrum Master training that I've had on projects, but we haven't been running proper agile teams, so it hasn't really. We've used the tools rather than become properly agile. But I can see the point of where if you're really going to be, it's difficult sometimes to look at what the role of the Scrum Master is, and people get confused of that with that, and that role isn't just to make sure everyone attends the meetings and set up the meetings and do that kind of thing, is it? It's to be there to help solve the problems outside of those stand-ups. So you have your stand-up, and then outside it, right? That's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. Right. So they can work with those individuals to unblock them. And sometimes we all get dragged into those conversations of where you've got a 15-minute stand-up that lasts an hour because you're trying to solve the problems in that call or in that meeting, instead of going, are you blocked? What do you need? Okay, I'll come and talk to you later. I'll come and talk to you. Because that's what we're meant to do, aren't we, as a Scrum Master? We're meant to listen to what's going on there. If there's something that's blocking someone, that's when our ears should prick up, or they should be telling us on their Jira board or whatever, I'm blocked on this. I need your help. What can you do about it? Sometimes you're blocked externally and then you can't do anything about it, but but then maybe you can. I don't know. It feels sometimes as if there's a tendency to want to try and discuss the full topic in the session, and I've seen that tension between team members who really want to go in and out, go on and get on with the role, and others who are quite happy to say, well, yeah, and that's it, but this is the issue, and then try and detail the full issue and try and solve the problem in that conversation. How do you deal with those situations in your experience?
Thank you for sharing with me. I was one of this situation quite recently, and I can see like people who want to talk, they want to express themselves, and that's quite difficult in 15 minutes
Yeah.
events, right? Daily Scrum. I think to give space each person, like eventually like the same time for each person, it might be an option. Also, like people who want to talk, they like to share a lot of stories. Maybe if they can be like, straightforward, more direct, and also like address what is the blocker or stopping you to address the spring goal. And if you don't have the time, you are able to connect with other members of the team after the daily scrum. And this is the space when you can collaborate and solve the problem on individual level with a group of people instead of all of them, because there might be some problems when they might need some decision from the product owner or managers. Okay, that can be addressed there. But if something small things, it doesn't stop you, but is a problem that can be addressed after daily scrum. And I think the scrum master is also there to say, can we please shift this topic and focus something what is the more important during daily scrum, and with something else, more detail that we can discuss it later. Sometimes there's a lot of pressure because companies, they like meetings, right? Sometimes I had members where they say, sorry, I don't have time. I was called from our manager to be in other meetings, collaborate with other teams. And then I see, okay, the manager doesn't know their daily scrum. The scrum member of the scrum team, they should be there. So I have to stand up and talk to the manager. Please don't call our developers during our daily scrum. I was also in one company when they say from 9 to 9:15, this is the dedicated time for every scrum team. They have the daily scrum or stand up. We can't have any meetings as managers with them. So dedicate the time and some talk even outside of the scrum team managers, stakeholders. Make dedicated time for it.
Interesting. So that in that instance, it's they're reserving that time in that organization. That's when they have their scrums, or was that one where they suggested that and it didn't work? What was that?
There was a lot of interaction with managers. They want to pick up a software developer or a member of the Scrum team at any time. And as I mentioned, I was in the situation where I missed half of the team because they were in other team activities or meeting, which was more important
Okay, yeah, I
according to
see.
the managers. So yeah. So I have to really talk to them, and I said, no, this is dedicated time. It's just 15 minutes per day from the 8 hours we used to spend in the company. It's very little time. Please give us the time. Well, just one example.
Yeah, it's funny, and there are a lot of things that, as you say, are important, that people deem more important, but it's typically they're more urgent rather than important. If you um, it's having that habit of it being that time when you do it, and you do it every day. And I've been guilty of it myself, where when I was a session that I just, but I think the thing there is, how do you do that at an organizational level? How do you get, maybe it's a step back from that, when you're going into an organization and they are saying, right, we're agile, or we want to be agile, and they have either a preconception of what they think agile means, which is incorrect, or what they've implemented so far. They said, we've implemented agile, it's not working. we don't think it works, and then actually you'll go in there and find that they've not implemented agility within their organization. What do you do when you go to organizations like that?
Sure. So when I'm going to organization, I have a conversation with them. Like I ask them what agile means to you, right? And with their answers, I can see what it's agile in their kind of eyes, in their world, integrated in their company. I also even ask like, what kind of framework do you use? And this kind of questions. And these questions leads me, okay, they're lacking with agile way of working. They're lacking maybe some expertise. Maybe they have their own Scrum Masters. I don't know how they are skilled, where they were working before, and this kind of things. So when organization is implementing agile, ask them about agile, also which frameworks you are familiar with most, right? And then we usually choose the frameworks. I'm starting from the top management, stakeholders even, and go to the teams later. And also I ask them, like, if we're using agile, have you done this organizational restructuring, right? Because like project management and waterfalls, they like the control, from the top, the managers to the employees. But in Agile, we promote more self-organizing teams where managers should trust the Scrum team. And I see this kind of many organizations is lacking. And the reorganization is very important to make the team more autonomous, so they can freely sometimes take even decision without management, right? So, but it's also like I see when the management try to do this, but they don't trust the Scrum team, the product owner even sometimes. And I think that's even bigger problem. They have to create a trust, to create a trust, some psychological safety should be also, be there, of course. That's the next step. So we maybe choose the frameworks. We maybe done the organizational restructuring, or we are willing to make the organization restructuring, and then later educate the management and also Scrum team. What are the agile principles? So I'm going a bit deeper. Maybe one form of workshops, practicing. And later, when we go deeper and department by departments, later we form a Scrum team. We establish the roles like Agile coaches, if they have Scrum Masters and product owners. So this is kind of important, right? So when we have these roles introduced, some people go to certification, education, and training, as mentioned before. Then we go more on the individual level, where we also talk about agile practices, incorporate agile practices into exciting workflow, introduce sprint, and going to product backlog, and this kind of things. And this also includes Scrum events. And of course, we have these roles. We know what are responsibility for product owner and also developers, UI, backend, frontend, and even others roles. Then we can also, we need also some tools. What tools they are using? Is this tool suitable, to have a product backlog, sprint backlog? Many big organizations using different services, ClickUp, Jira, and a few others. Sometimes they have to make decision to make something more suitable or open to test some other tools, which is more suitable for the software developers, for example. It's manufacturing, might be other suitable software. It sometimes depends what technology they are working with, and also what is the service or product. So mention agile tools as for collaboration, as mentioned a few minutes ago, Miro, and others. And then we have the tools, we have introduced roles, and we also running for sprint. Sometimes we just have sprint 0 just to try how is it, right? And then we take from there and continuous improvement, right? We're running Scrum events, and we also learning from our mistake. So continuous improvement, part of Kaizen, right? And also Agile. We review and reflect to make always better improvement. Be open for feedback, which is part of also retrospective, one of the events. And then me as Agile Coach providing support for Scrum teams and management as well. And that might be like a few months or even over a year. It really depends, which framework they use and how big is the organization.
Yeah, it's interesting because it is. I think some people think it's a quick fix, and it takes time to get an organization, to get a team uh, using these processes and using them in a way, in an effective way, and modifying the way they work together just to correct stuff. And you've got to go through a number of iterations in order to understand that. And it might be at the end of that, sometimes at the end of that project, you've got a really humming team, and then boom, they've gone off to the four winds, and then they don't come back again. How do you in your creating those self-managing teams, how do you make sure that those teams are performing quickly and are able to um, trust each other, which I think is one of the key things there, and kind of um, work together as a unit rather than as individuals? What do you do to solve that?
Yeah, that also depends. Sure. That also depends on the side of the company, even the department, right? Sometimes we start the agile transformation in one department or with few teams. We see how that goes. It's get really well. We spread to other departments, and then we can also use like if this Scrum team is really work really well after a few weeks or let's say 3-4 months, they can be example to other teams, to other departments, so they can motivate others, right? They can invite others to some Scrum events like sprint review and see how the Scrum event looks like and what is it, to just get the feeling. And we also might have some workshop or collaboration together so they can learn each other. So we introduced the Agile in for a few teams and one department, and then we can spread it even more, but slowly. And also, like big organization, it's also important they have more than one Agile coach, right? So one can focus on management, whether on Scrum team or even stakeholders. It's a lot of responsibility, and also we have to collaborate. It's challenging when it's possible. And yeah, I mean, usually when the team used to work with software development and with some tools, it's quite it's take less time from my experience working and implement Agile. If the Agile is completely new and they're switching for waterfall, it takes longer. There might be some resistance for some employees. Why are we changing this? Why are we using these new tools? Why are we going to sprints, compared to finish one thing and then start other one, instead of being in loops for 2 or 4 weeks and get feedback, improvement, and always get a better way of working. As I said, bigger organization takes longer and is more challenging. And also, if they're willing to able to learn something, if there's resistance, it's take longer. I also was working in an organization where they choose one framework, they figure out after 1 year it doesn't work, then we have to switch something more, not that robust, something simple.
I can imagine that. Another great sponsor of the show comes in the form of Air Manual. Air Manual is a it's a tool for documenting process, which and best practices. It's a company formed by a guy, one of my interviewees, Alexis Kingsbury. Essentially, and I kind of summarised why my view of where we see documentation, and my experience has been, people will document something, a process, they'll put it in a Visio diagram that gets loaded onto a SharePoint site or something similar, and then a bunch of that. So then once that diagram's been shared with senior management, they're happy they have a process in the business. But then the detailed procedures underneath it might be in Word documents, in just poorly kept and not linked easily and not updated. And what Air Manual does, it allows you to put in it's a tool for doing this kind of thing. You whack it in, the service in there, get in there, put in your process, your flow, and you build it down to as low a level of detail, even to the point of checklists where people can check off they've done it. So it creates that guided checklists, easy to create, easy to maintain, and all in one place. And no one's kind of rooting around to find the SharePoint, and then when you change to new SharePoint services and all that stuff, it's all there. So if you pop along to nigelcreaser.com/airmanual, there's a bit more detail there and a link there to click on to go and get. I think they offer a trial and things like that. So it's something that I think can easily reduce the amount of errors, rework, etc. within our organisations. So take a look. Well, I hope you enjoyed that interview with Ondrej, and come back next week for part 2. Speak soon. Bye. My latest, the latest affiliate that I've got on the show now is Riverside. I use Riverside to do my interviews, Riverside FM. It kind of offers you a whole, if you like, micro studio management producer tooling, and goes beyond that. Has a really good free layer, and I've been using it for a while now. I find it really good. When I've had issues, even though I'm not on one of the higher paid levels, the support has been quick, responsive, and of high quality, and people keen to help me. The organisation seems really good. The product seems really intuitive, and quality is really good as well. And it's a clever way of doing it is when you're recording through your browsers, so you've not got loads of desktop resources being used compared to some other products that I've used. And what they also do is they stream a lower quality version of it up onto as you're doing the interview, so you're not burning bandwidth while you're doing the interview and potentially impacting on the quality of the conversation. And then at the end, it uploads it, the higher quality from your browser. It's just a really good way of doing it. So if you are thinking of doing a podcast, know someone who's doing a podcast, I would recommend using this tool. I found it really good. Best of the tools that I've tried using to date. And you can get that at nigelcreaser.com/riverside, and that will redirect you to my kickback page on their site, and there I will get a little kickback from them. So take a look. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed that. But you're thinking, I wonder what the next bit's going to be. Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? You heard at the beginning of the show where I said there's a way around that. So if you're really itching and you want to hear the next bit of this show, jump down to Patreon, have a look, find the one that's got a little lock on it, click on it, and you'll be able to get the second half along with the first half all together. And you won't get this annoying bit or the annoying bit at the beginning that I just done as well. So, yeah, give it a go. It's only a price of a coffee. Cheers. Well, it's goodbye from me, Nigel Creaser, and it's goodbye from him, the Sunday Lunch PM. Goodbye.